Blog Talk Radio.
The moment I walked away from active addiction and the neighborhood I grew up in, the neighborhood where I lost myself for many years, a weight was lifted off of my heart. I never needed to fit in to oppressive relationships that seemed to love overshadowing me. Now, in saying this, please don't get me mistaken. I played a major role in it all because rather than standing in my own truth confidently and defiantly, I chose to live in the shadows where I felt safe. They never were safe. From the shadows, we must emerge from and stray into the divine light of our own narrative, purpose, and reason for living. This next guest did just that, and her powerful voice has become a source of light for many. And our networking journey began more than 10 years ago. She is strong, fearless, and she not only chases her dreams, but she lives them. Now, before I bring on Laura Poindexter, I'm going to try to paraphrase some of the things that she has wrote about herself. She says, "Hello, I'm Laura, the TheSoulWriter Poindexter, a native New Yorker. Manhattan is my borough and Harlem is my tribe. My childhood dream to become a creative would be disrupted and put on hold indefinitely. My journey through life would be an unscripted, made for television drama. The opening act would begin with the death of my mother. I was only 6 years old at the time, and it traumatized me far beyond my comprehension." Now, this tells you a lot about the incredible resiliency of this woman. And I remember the last time I had her on this show, her power just overwhelmed me. And so I can't wait for you to meet her too. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, the TheSoulWriter, Laura Poindexter.
Oh,
hey,
my God. Oh, my God. You know what? Why do we have to start with tears every dang blank time, Glenn?
Hi, honey. How you doing?
I'm fine, my love. How are you?
You know, I'm fine. I'm doing well. As I was reading that, I just kind of teared up because, you know, I lost my mom a couple of years ago. And for you to have lost yours so young, you know, and when I met you and had you on the show the first time, you touched my life more than what you know, just like so many of the other people that I've had on the show this season 7. So I just want to say I'm so grateful that you're here.
Oh, man, I'm grateful that I'm here, but I'm also grateful to you because you know me way before when all of everything that I'm doing was just something that I was like, you know, Glenn, I think I'm going to Atlanta, but you knew me way back when, and it's a support that the solid support is the support that you don't see, and that's what people fail to realize. My online support that's out there that you see, that's kind of the support that you don't see. People like you who will say, "I see you, okay, I saw you, keep going." Like, that is so important in reaching your goal. You have to have foundational people that are not standing in the front lines. They in the background praying, posting, reposting. So I thank you so much for giving me a platform for anybody even knew what it was.
You're welcome. And I think your network might be failing. You might want to try to move to a different part of the house. Yeah. But we pretty much were able to hear the content. So I just want this to show you in the best light possible. And I have to tack on to what you said. You're absolutely right. Many of you, like I said, I've interviewed you on the show, and I have always been in the wings watching your posts, watching your triumphs. And then it's not like we talk every single day or interact every single day. But the fact that we know that one another is there, that's really what it's all about, my dear. So without any further ado, I know that you have been one busy little bee. So why don't you kind of tell us what you've been into? You've been doing some acting, haven't you?
Yes, I have. And Glenn, just look, I'm old, so I use the old people. I'm with the old people's consumer cellular. You got to let me know. You know, you got to let me know what the phone is.
I got you, my sister. I got you, okay?
Oh, my goodness. Yes, I've been acting, but I don't know who will listen, and I know people will listen in the replay, but word to the wise. So for me, when I came in, I did come in having a corporate background, and I knew enough to know that I had to start at the beginning. I knew enough to know that you can't be the loudest thing in the room. This is a new room. Close your mouth, listen. I paid attention, but there is still an energy in the industry, and I say this every time I am provided the opportunity to have a platform. There is a very funky, nasty energy in this industry.
Go ahead and speak, girl.
It's based on ego.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was, I'll be the first to admit that within the first 2 to 3 years, I was very caught up in it. But in being caught up in it, I was accomplishing some small feats, but it really wasn't worth the frustration.
I get it.
I get it. Yeah. Do you get that, Glenn?
I do.
You know, so I had to step back. I didn't do it willingly. I always give honor and glory to God, and I want to be specific. I'm talking about God as in Jesus. I don't care what anybody else calls him, but I think nowadays we have to be very specific because people are worshiping all kinds of stuff, so I don't want to fall into that.
Okay.
People worship,
you better speak.
Right? So he said to me, I'm going to shut you down. And I was like, okay, because at this point I was old enough now, and I had been in the industry for a little while, and I wasn't accomplishing the way that I knew I could accomplish. And in the shutdown, I was able to be more of an observationist. And when he released me from that, I was very, very focused. I was very targeted, and I knew what I wanted to do. And also in that shutdown, he assured me that I was enough.
Huh. You better speak.
When we feel like we can do it, but we can do it in person or this company or that company, then we are really shortchanging ourselves, because I've come to the conclusion I can accept my losses very, very well if I lose on my own terms.
Very
valid.
When
I'm only pissed off when this didn't work because I made the decision to include you.
Okay. Let me chime in for just a second. When you spoke very candidly about, the experiences in this in the industry that you are in, I guess I could say that I'm in it since I'm a podcaster too. What I have been witnessing from a Black person perspective, the going back and forth, the tearing of each other down, the violent and ratchet displays of one another, many up the scale, as far as visual, that have accomplished quite a bit, and it just breaks my heart. It really does, Laura.
And so there is this paradigm that has existed, but I understand it now from a spiritual place, is that we as people of color, and so now I've learned that all people of color suffer with this, African Americans would just probably be at the height of it, is that we are accustomed to fighting over.
You said fighting each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're accustomed to that. And in that, what we see as each other as the enemy, we fail to realize is that what we're fighting over and what we're fighting to get to doesn't care about us at all. It only wants to use us for what we have to offer. So I'm really actually cutting you down to be in a space and in production and working with a company that doesn't really give a damn about me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as I began to learn, I always try to create opportunities for people, but I started to not take this as seriously. And people was like, no, I take it seriously. I mean, go Google. I tell people all the time, ask Siri, ask Google, ask any of your devices who I am, and they'll tell you. I take this seriously, but I don't take it seriously to the point where it would allow me to treat anyone the way that I don't want to be treated for an opportunity. I would walk away or allow you to have it if it puts me in a position where I would treat you inhumanely to get it.
I'm so going to enjoy going back, listening to this, because in the industry that I'm in, which is transportation, not revealing anything, but I and then basically from what I see on some of the social media where I see artists talking down to people, not wanting people to look them in the eye. The little camera guy I saw with this rapper, I'm not going to say any name, but I saw this guy who is pretty big in the business call this little young black cameraman a nerd and just berated him in front of thousands of people. And this is where I am as I have found my own lane, just like you. It's like, you know what? At 62, I'm a black gay man. And you know what? There are far many people in my life now that I love and I care about. I don't give a damn how much money you have. I don't care what your prestige is. If you are not a decent person, I don't give a fuck. Excuse me for cursing, Laura. I don't give a fuck about knowing you. You see what I'm saying?
It really does. It has to get to that where we value who I understand now more than ever, because I tell everyone I'll be 59 in a couple of months, right? Mm-hmm. I'm understanding that the way I value myself, it is going to reflect in how I value others. So whoever that person was that was talking down to that camera person, they might be in a certain position in the industry, but the reason why you behave that way is because of your own insecurities.
You better talk.
That's why you behave that way.
Mm-hmm. Because only an insecure narcissist motherfucker would talk to somebody like they're garbage. Go ahead. I couldn't wait for this interview. You better go ahead on and speak, girl.
No, I'm serious. And it's been very, very interesting. It's been interesting indeed. And I can also be very grateful that I didn't get this dream when I wanted it. I wanted it from childhood, but I would not have been able to handle it. It's just too many ugly moving parts that don't make a whole lot of sense in the grand scheme of things. But here recently, it's been great. Last year, I did a lot of domestic traveling and a lot of production, and that was really fabulous for me because I'm self-taught. And I like to stay sharp as it relates to what I do. And this year it's been more acting. And if people go back and they look at my posts and they look at what I put, everything that I said was going to happen, that I wanted to happen, it has happened. Because I'm plugging source.
Let me ask you a question. I'm so grateful that you're hitting a lot of these bullet points for the person that's out there listening, kind of, breadcrumbs on how to navigate through this whole thing, especially the part where you said the higher power had to back you up for just a minute, and now as you proceed, you know how to move a little better. Have there been rooms that you have been in with others in your craft that allowed you to learn some things? And also, did you ever have to excuse yourself from the room because the vibe wasn't right?
Oh, I'm always excusing myself from the room. I'm always excusing myself from the room. And so that's the difference when I've been able to identify the energy and the spirits that are in the room. And I understand that my spirit is different because I'm chosen and I'm set aside. Now, the Bible says that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, which means I don't care what spirits are anywhere. Wherever I step my foot, it has to part away from me because I'm chosen.
You speak.
That's the difference between somebody being arrogant. I said I'm chosen, which means I'm operating under another power. So, I'm operating on it. It is not of my strength. It is not of my will. It is because I'm blessed to do this. I excuse myself from rooms more often than not. And in the shutdown, eliminated certain rooms because, and however it sounds is what it is. It's because when I was in the room with you, you knew that I was chosen. A lot of people don't get along with chosen people, not because of them, it's because of their spirit. You dislike a person because of their spirit. You understand that their spirit can see who you truly are.
Ouch.
Many of the people that don't like me, they don't like me because they know that I know who they are in the spirit.
I'm so enjoying this.
I know, but outside of your Fendi, outside of your Gucci, outside of your Range Rover, outside of your perfectly beat face, in the spirit, I know who you are.
Exactly.
So I'll give a story. I'll give a perfect example. I'll be diplomatic about it, but I've been clear about this too. I'm going to tell my story. So if you're a part of my life, then act right when you in my space, because I might get an opportunity to go on Touch of Grace, and if that comes up, I'm going to tell my story. And if you have a problem with it, that's just a problem. Right. So last year I was invited to be a speaker at Essence. Okay. And it was a whole Essence day, honey. Oh, my Lord. Well, they had all of this whole thing that you got to go through to be, okay, I do all the paperwork, da-da-da-da. We get there. I'm in New Orleans. My sister comes down, and on the morning that I'm supposed to go to James Baldwin bookstore because that's where I'm speaking, I get this email that we can't go to James Baldwin because the facilitator of this event did not do what it was supposed to do as it relates to being there. Essence is saying, wait a minute, hold up, you don't know. And my sister now, she's reconnected, so she's looking up stuff and she's showing me stuff. And then I get a call from the people who are doing this, and they say, hey, Miss Laura, we're going to need to meet at blah, 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 blah. Now, there are a couple of things going on here. The first thing is that you made it a big deal. You made it like it was such a prestigious thing for me even to be chosen by your body to even be a speaker. Come to find out, I'm all the way in New Orleans, and y'all ain't got y'all, excuse me, because y'all know I don't cuss no more, but I think this requires your shit. Y'all ain't got y'all shit together. We're going to meet at such and such and such and such place, and we need you to be here, and I'm listening. I said, well, I'm give me a minute. I need to think about that. I hang up. I talked to my sister. I said, I'm not going. So what do you mean? I said, I'm not going. I said, it's not like, I came to do that, but hell, we in New Orleans. There's a million things to do. I knew in that moment that if I elected not to go, that they wouldn't mess with me anymore, but I'm cool with that because there are a lot of people that came down here that aren't as fortunate as I am.
Mm-hmm.
that I can do what I want. I can go where I want. I ain't got to rock with you. There's some people that are here that when they got that message, it turned their entire life upside down.
Yes.
They had to go through they had to jump through the same hoops to be on that bill. There's some people make sacrifices to be here, and you don't have your shit together, so I'm not supporting you because I need to stand for something. And I don't care if you ever call me again. If God wants me to speak at once, he'll make a way. And I didn't show up. And in not showing up, I have people that I know that are affiliated. Miss Laura, you heard what's going on? I heard what's going on. And you're going, no, I'm not going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going because you made me go through all of this and that to be a part of it. You made yourself seem like you were an elite force, which I believed until, of course, I got the phone call. But at the end of the day, what I am learning is that only just been chosen to do this. I've been chosen to do this right. So I'm going to say what everybody else is thinking. No, I ain't going.
I love it. And you know what? As you create, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but as you create your own confident lane and you're coming from a good spiritual place, you didn't just mention your experience. You said you had the means to be able to do other things while you were there. But there are some people that probably spent their last dime to get there and would have to think about how they're going to get back. And this is the kind of shit that y'all pull. Keep on speaking, girl.
Yeah, that's what they do. And that and it's some people that this was a really big, it was a big deal for me. Don't get it, but I've lived a lot of life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm normally in rooms where I am amongst the oldest of the women, and I act my age. You call me Miss Laura, you can call me Auntie Laura, you can call me Mama Laura. I am not desirous to be. That's not. I'm not a millennial.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just going out and being able to be representative and be able to stand for something. I think that is helping too, because women are seeing me. They are saying to themselves, even if they don't say it to me, because I can look at you. And I know you're saying thank you. You don't have to say thank you. I can look at you.
Right.
Thank you for asking them, Miss Laura, what time is lunch coming?
It's the breadcrumbs. It's the breadcrumbs that you're leaving behind, and you absolutely get it. Now, for the listeners that probably have not listened to the prior broadcast, I want to go back in time for just a moment so that the listeners here will understand how you got to this place and the evolution of who you were. Now, if I'm not mistaken, and please forgive me if I'm wrong, but aren't you, like one of me, a former active addiction person?
Absolutely. Going on now 40 years sober, yeah.
Okay, so
and coming from a family of don't forget, my dad died from a cocaine-induced stroke. His brother, my uncle, died from a heroin overdose, and their father died from cirrhosis of the liver, complications to alcoholism. Come
jails, institutions, and deaths. So I just want to kind of relive that moment when. Because I know my rock bottom moment, but this ain't about me right now. It's about you. What was your rock bottom moment? And do you refer to it to remind yourself, to continue to empower yourself? But what was that moment?
I was on a binge, and, I was probably about 5 blocks away from my house that I lived in, and just had been using. And I went to the restroom, and I used the restroom, and then I looked in the mirror. And I could not believe what I saw. And in active addiction, we really don't see it. We hear people saying, oh, my goodness, you need to get it together. You look horrible. But for that moment, I believe that God allowed the spirit of addiction to move out so that I could see myself with spiritual eyes, that I could truly see myself. Because the addict doesn't see themselves. All they know is, what do you got one? We're not hearing nothing else. You got $10, you got one.
Right.
You know what we thought of that? I am not trying to hear it. But for that moment, and I came out of the bathroom, and I asked the homeowner if they had a Bible. So now everybody's looking at me like, what is going on? I was like, I need a Bible. And I was very serious. You know, every black home got 2, 3, 4, 8, 25 Bibles. You know, black home got 25. Yeah, we got about. I said, I need a piece of paper. Now, at this point, I'm blowing everybody's high. Got a piece of paper, and I wrote in on the piece of paper, God, please deliver me. Please, please deliver me. I folded it up, put it in the Bible, and I left, went home. And 2 weeks later, my mother's sister, who I hadn't seen for about 10, 12 years, who lived in Maryland, she came down. And I was in the crack house, and she came on in the crack house. And she was like, and that was my rock bottom moment, and that was my opportunity to get sober. It was a spiritual moment. Because I looked in the mirror. I looked in the mirror when I was getting high, and I didn't see how bad I looked because it's. I don't think people even understand that draw, that magnetism, that the power of addiction. It's powerful.
Yeah, it is powerful, and I had to include that in this segment because when people go back and they see your digital footprint and they see this big, beautiful smile and this well put together sister, I want whoever is in that active addiction to be able to see the spiritual moment and the outcome of what it is, that it's not hopeless, but it does take honesty and belief that you are better than, and that you deserve something more, that you could walk away from those types of rooms into different rooms and still be okay with yourself. Now, there is something that's really interesting to me that I see in your bio, and I'm going to switch subjects again. You mentioned where your downward spiral began when you dropped out of high school, and then you had lost your scholarship from the Dance Theater of Harlem. Now, that is something I never even really knew. You were a dancer?
I was a dancer. Do you know that I actually, no, seriously, the Dance Theater of Harlem is on 152nd Street between Amsterdam and St. Nicholas. I lived on 152nd Street between Amsterdam and Broadway. And from a child, I would see these beautiful women of color. And they had to walk through our neighborhood. We're in New York. We don't do a lot of driving. These girls were taking the train. They were taking the bus. And I would be mesmerized by these women, all different shades, but all women of color. They had a walk that was so erect, and these buns just snatched back, and I would just be like, whoa, what is this? And it was something about it. And I, of course, growing up in Harlem, I was a street dancer from day one. I was a street dancer, and the Dance Theater of Harlem had to give scholarships out to kids in Harlem. And all you had to do was go audition. I auditioned. It wasn't even. I auditioned. I got my scholarship right there. It wasn't round two. It wasn't none of that. I auditioned. I got the scholarship right there.
It almost reminds me of the movie Fame with Debbie Allen, and how they found Leroy, the character Leroy. Just gifted.
Leroy is God rest his soul. He lived in the Polo Grounds, and he was one of the kids. He was one of the kids from Harlem. He was on Fame, but you would see him walking down the street anytime. Like, yeah, Harlem was rich in that, and it was the thing that gave me joy, and that I had never fully grieved the loss of my mother. That was that thing, but dancing really gave me hope. Now watch this, Glenn.
Okay.
But none of my friends or my peers understood why I wanted to be a dancer. They made fun of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't strong enough at such a young age to fight that pressure.
I get it.
And not sticking with the dancing and deciding to just want to be accepted by them. That's when everything else went to hell.
As we always do. Mm-hmm. As we always do, and those of us who fall victim of that and don't realize that we are enough. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Now let's switch tracks again because I want to try to get in as much. So here you are. So you've gone through hell a few times and then back, but then you did probably what I did too as soon as I got clean. You went into the health and human services, and you dedicated 23 years of your life assisting people. Now, I only lasted 5 years, but I did punch my ticket because a person, when they moved me home and I was taking them calls from my bedroom, you actually hear people on the phone shooting up. You hear people like back in Philadelphia. They had a place where I guess it was free because California, the shit ain't free here. But they're looking for one hot and a cot, right? And you hear these people, they get in, you do all this shit to get their ass in, and then they get kicked out because they done snuck some shit in or they're doing something crazy. So in your 23 years, it pretty much, just tells me so much of what I already knew about you, of your dedication. So take us through that time. And find out and tell us about what you found out about yourself and really what you found out about, the struggles of addiction, if that makes sense.
No, it does. So I decided to take my on that offer. I get to Baltimore, and then I realized that from the time that you start addiction, especially when you're young, you are now shutting down your growth, biological, mental. When you start using, it slows all of that down.
It's true.
Here I am, 21. I'm a new mother. My family in New York, they said they're going to keep my son. I can't do it without my son. I go to get my son, but I can't do it with him either. So before we get to going into the field of health and human services, I turn around and decide, well, drugs is something I was always good at. I won't use them. I'll sell them. Now, we all know that a monkey can't sell bananas.
You better talk, girl. A monkey can't sell bananas. I love it. Keep going.
But I was able to stay clean, and now I'm hustling, and the insanity. Because people have a tendency to think that only the drug addict is crazy. The drug dealer is crazy too.
Oh yeah.
Right? I'm doing my thing, or I think I am. I get caught. I get popped on interstate transportation. I go in front of this judge. Yes, I get popped on a whole interstate, transporting packaging materials, transporting CBS above such and such weight. They were they slammed me. But I had never been in trouble before. I go in front of this judge. I tell this story all the time. I really think that she was an angel.
Okay.
I really do. I think that she was an angel.
I believe you.
She made me an offer I couldn't refuse. She basically said, "Oh, you're going to jail, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to change your life." She said, "When I look at you, I see something in you I've never seen you before." She said, "But I promise you this, if you ever come back in my courtroom again, I'll put you under the jail."
All right.
I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, sugar, I'm going to take door number 1. I won't ever see you again." I won't ever see you again. And she mandated me to do community service in the court. And I was surrounded by these women, and I was doing filing, and I was cleaning the bathrooms, and these women in this courthouse, they were pouring into me. Now, remember, let me just go back. I'm growing up in Harlem, but I'm raised by my grandmother because my mother passed away. My dad is a hustler. He's down. My grandmother is raising us right. I have manners. I was like, what happens is that we look at people and we judge them by what we see them doing in that moment. I come from good stock.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to exhibit that in the courthouse. And that started my journey into Health and Human Services. When I finished with all of my mandated things from the court, I had glowing letters. I had letters that would make a person look at my charges because they hadn't been expunged yet. To look at my charges and then look at the letter and then look at me and say, "Are you sure that you're the same person? Because these charges in this letter don't add up." That's how I got in Health.
Let me just say this, Laura, because just as wonderful and passionate as you are, and I tell you, if we met while we were both in active addiction, I know you would have been a friend to me. I know you would have been a friend to me because you have always been just a real good person, you know? And but whether people believe it or not, you know, yeah, there's like a lot of shit going on in active addiction, but there are people are not just the dregs of humanity. There are really some good people that are there, but they're just in the addiction. This one guy, this one OG, Sweetback, may he rest in peace, he said, "Glenn, this guy is not your friend. He, you know, talks about you so bad when you're gone, but you're calling him your best friend." He goes, "And I want you to know why so many guys, you know, shun you." He said, "Because they're jealous of your intelligence." Now, that's him and I. We snorting a line, you know, drinking and stuff like that. But he's such a good guy, and he was older than me, and he told me that, you know. And so I guess what I was getting at is that you allowed people to see your record, and they're looking at you, and they can't believe the shit. Yeah, all that you
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's so. Going into Health and Human Services, I wasn't thinking about this. I thought that what I'm doing now had passed. And I have to say this, that being in active addiction was just such a horrible, horrible experience. Mm-hmm. All I wanted to do when I came out of it was stay clean and to help other people get clean. That's all I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. That's all I wanted to do. And I was, yeah.
And switching notes again, because God dang, your damn life should be made into a movie, and who knows, it may before everything is all said and done. But in 2010, 2010 is when my first book, but it also is when I started this podcast. But then I did not know this part, and then you said 2010 life showed up again. Another bag of pain. Within 3 years, you would lose your husband, your career, your house, your cars, and you were on the verge of a nervous breakdown. Now, we had met around that time, and I would never have known. So kind of talk about that moment.
Well, oh, God, okay. So I'm doing my thing in Health and Human Services, and I was one of the first people of the Me Too movement. And okay. I reported my supervisor, and this is actually the first time that I'm breaking the story. People have always asked what happened. I reported my supervisor, and I came into work the next day, and they actually allowed him to demote me, because once you report a supervisor, under law, they can't have any contact with you until an investigation is done. Maybe they thought I didn't know that. To his office, he demoted me, and my job kind of let me know without telling me, we're not going to do anything about it. We're just going to make it very difficult for you to continue to work here. And I filed a claim with the EEOC, and that was the beginning of the end of that life. So let me just say, that was the beginning of the end of that, because, as I said before, I was very grateful that I had gotten clean, and I was super grateful that I was able to help other people. Like, I wasn't just the type of counselor in the office. Like, I was the person that, Miss Laura, my son's going to court. We're trying to get him in drug court. Can you come to the court today? Yes. I was the person that when I walked into the drug courtroom, the judges would actually stop and say, Miss Poindexter, it's going to be interesting today, isn't it? I said, yes, Judge, it is. Like, so I would not have ever stopped what I was doing to pursue something that I thought was over. Mm-hmm. So when it was happening, I was fighting what was happening because I thought that I was losing my life. But God said, if I don't take this from you, you'll never be able to live this dream. And I held your dream for you. That's how much I love you.
Oh,
I know that this is what you wanted to do, but you're doing something else, and I'm proud of you, but I'm going to allow you to live your dream, and the only way that I can do that is if I take this away, because you'll never leave this. You'll retire as a health and human services person, helping people, and you'll help people until you come on home to me. But you've done okay by me. You help people that I told you to help. You fed people I told you to feed. You got people out of foster care when I told you to get them. You brought families together. You spoke up for the people who were being human trafficked. You did good. So you can have your dream, and the only way that you can see that I'm giving it to you is if I take everything from you.
You got me in tears. This is a moment on the touch of grace that when I go back and listen to this, I probably will fully cry. I have to kind of keep myself composed over on the air. I guess that's why I loved you so much, and I already knew what it was going to be like, because I get it. It's like I shared this piece. I worked at Stanford University, 82K. My addiction ramped up. That was my final break. Called one person when I was 5150. That was my mother. Told her, don't worry about me for 30 days. Now, what happened is that when I got back to work, I was clean and sober, you know. I had a Karen, and now we all know who Karen is, okay? When I tell you, excuse me for saying this, that bitch never liked me. She was my peer, and they promoted her to being my boss. I helped hire the bitch, right? Excuse me for cursing, y'all. I'm sorry. And the day that came, I was doing payroll, and I look and I see that all my vacation is drained. I said, they're getting ready to fire you. So even before I had the meeting, Laura, I was packing up my shit, right? And so when I got in the room, she's looking at me all bug-eyed. And I said, well, you got what you want. Hurry up and give me my check. Now, I enjoyed my time at Stanford University. I got a chance to take a writing class at Stanford University. And I was so happy to go because, see, I did get clean there. I was clean as a bell, still clean. And the thing is, that moment when you said, God, it away from you, because he said that you would just continue to work there and retire when I have this dream for you. That shook me to my spine, Laura, when you said that, because it's identical to the experience I felt. Woo!
So won't he do it?
I knew that this broadcast, all of them have been fantastic. I knew this one would take the air out of me. So let's move a little forward. What are you doing today, my dear? What is, well, before we do that, before we start winding down a little bit, has there been someone that you have worked with that you said, I can't believe that I'm working with this person, that just really, that you were starstruck?
Okay, in the beginning, so let's go. Remember, I've been breaking down this journey into portions, and I tell people all the time, enjoy the journey, stop focusing on the destination, because that will always trip you up. So, absolutely. So I have not been in, because I'm really actually too old for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually too old for that. I've been on Oprah said on Greenleaf, which was a great experience, and I was just doing extra work then. I think that my interfacing with A-list celebrities was always when I was in an extra capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've worked with, I guess what they call them, B people, but no, I don't. I'm fortunate, Glenn, in the fact that they put on their jammy jams the way I put on my jammy jams.
Okay.
And yeah, and
Spot the way
you
spot everything. Yep.
Yeah, and what I've also noticed is that they have been more open to say, hey, you know, how you doing when you don't do that? They're accustomed to people doing that. And to be quite frank, it is annoying to them. They get it all the time.
Yep.
They get it all the time. I remember we in Greenleaf. Was it Greenleaf? No, was it Greenleaf? Saints and Sinners.
I love
Clifton
show.
Powell.
I
right?
like him
Clifton
too.
Powell. Yeah. We're outside and we're all having coffee and we're talking and whatever. And he's a great person, just all around person. Mm-hmm. And you know, people are all up in his face and blah 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 and da 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 da. And he goes to get coffee, and we were on like a cobblestone, pebbly type of thing, and he had on slippery shoes, and the coffee spills on the front of him. And the explicitives that came out of his mouth in rapid fire succession, it was hysterical. Now, everybody who's been up in his face talking, when that happens, they're like frozen. And I get up and I get a rag, and I said, do you mind? He said, no, ma'am. And I wipe his stuff off and take his coffee off, and him and I start talking. So everybody's at least, so it's almost like they're a star, because that's what we call them. So I'll use that word for lack of better. But there's
okay.
I have a Stephen Baldwin story. Great Stephen Baldwin story. I'm at the 11th Christian Film and Music Festival that awarded me Screenwriter of the Year 2020. And I'm going because I want to network and just want to be in that place. It was a week-long, wonderful thing out in Orlando, Florida. Stephen Baldwin, his rooms with an S, because they bought every room on the floor so he could have the whole thing.
All right.
Right? He's on top of me. I don't even know it. Every morning I come out, I have coffee, I smoke cigarettes. Stephen Baldwin is watching me. I don't know who's watching me. So now it's the night of the big gala. We're all there. You know, I'm in VIP because that's all I do, boo, is VIP. You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead. Go ahead, queen.
And he comes through. And everybody's like, hey, Mr. Baldwin, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm there, and I'm talking, and he walks up behind me. Stephen Baldwin, he says in my ear, he says, I know you. And I turn around and I say, how do you know me? He said, you're the lady who smoked cigarettes and drank coffee. I said, hell yeah, you sure do know me.
I just love you.
He takes pictures with me, and we talk, and then later on that evening, we interface some more. So I've been around these people, but I treat them like people, just regular folks,
because
and they
that's
appreciate
all they
it.
are. That's all they are. You know, they're talented people, but they're human beings. You know, from dust we came, and to dust we gonna go here. We gonna leave here.
You better understand that part, that entire part.
Yes. But oh my God. Well, as we wind down, my dear, first of all, I want to always extend an open invitation. You always have an open invitation here on A Touch of Grace. So you just say, hey, you send me an email, you call me, whatever you want to do, and we'll make it happen. Because I like I said, I'm in the wings, just like I told Tomas last show. I said, I'm always in the wings watching you. Be brilliant. So on this final note of this interview, Laura, what message do you want to leave with the listeners this afternoon?
Oh, wow. So in in the time and the space that we're in, the first thing that I want to say to people is that people need to really pay attention. We are going through a lot. We can't afford to pay our bills. We treat each other horribly. We understand that there has just been a big awakening with people of color understanding that we are the people of the book. And when that happened, then it turned around that an anti-Semitic law has been passed and trying to ban the Bible. This happened once it uncovered. Now that you know that you are a person of the book, I think that you should be more excited about that. I think that we need to tune in. We need to turn everything else down and tune in. We really do. We really, really do. Or else we're not going to make it. We are not going to make it, because even what you see and everything that I'm doing in the industry and all of this wonderful stuff, we are coming to a time when we are going to have to sit ashes. No cell phone, no television, no boyfriend, no girlfriend, no words of advice. It's just going to be you and your maker.
Powerful
I want
stuff.
everybody to really think about their mortality, because we are not immortal.
No.
And if you're not sure about who you are, I think that maybe people should start taking more time to spend with themselves. Time to learn yourself. Time to be good to yourself, not your exterior self, your inner self. Drink some tea, drink some water, get some extra sleep.
Meditate.
Outside of that, I want people to understand that they are enough.
All right. And what? And also, I don't mean to interrupt. And then also, what is the next big thing that you are working on, my dear? Can you share it with us, or are we going to have to wait for the surprise?
Actually, I am doing What Doesn't Kill Us. It is the story of my life. I started filming last year. We got a lot of great footage. I still need to go to New York this year. I love being a documentary is my medium as it relates to filmmaking. People hire me to do production on whatever they need me for if they feel that I fit. But documentary is that's my jam, because God told me, I don't need you making up stories. I need you telling stories that have never been told. I said, okay, I don't want no smoke, God. I'm good with that.
Okay, if you were here, I would do like the Clark sisters' mother did them when they were hitting the wrong notes. She took her shoe off and she threw it at the wall. She said, look. But I'd be taking my shoe off, throwing it, because, sister, you are phenomenal. Like Maya Angelou said, the arch in her back. You are a phenomenal woman. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing the show today, my sweetie.
I love you so much. And when I come, okay, before we get off, I know you're in Cali. Where are you exactly? Like,
I'm in Santa Clara, down the street from Levi Stadium. I could get to San Francisco. Oakland got to clean their ass up before I get over to Oakland. Okay. It's got too much shit going on over there. I didn't even want to go see Najee or Seal, because it's just too bad over there. Yeah, it's really bad. But I'll come to San Francisco or San Jose. So
I'm coming there. I want that to be a this year trip. So I have to get out to Cali. So thank you for having me. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for supporting me when nobody even knew who I was. You are phenomenal as well. My pappy, you know that's my nickname.
I know you always say
right?
Poppy. It always makes me smile. Well, my dear, you be safe out there. Stay prayed up, because we got some rocky roads ahead here in this world. But you always have a friend in me, and if you ever need me, you just give me a call, all right?
I sure will. Love you so much.
All right, I love you too, darling. You take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a phenomenal spirit known as Laura Poindexter. Like I said, season 7 has just knocked my goddamn own shoes off. As a matter of fact, I keep having to put them back on because with each and every guest, oh, God, that one part where she said that, you know, God had to close this door for her because she would have been, oh, my God, I got it. So anyway, I want to leave you with this. Emotional intelligence is something I continue to perfect on a daily basis. As I learn not to meet aggression with aggression, but rather calm and poise, never meeting it with aggression. Lord knows, mainstream media as well as social media are cesspools that seem to glorify bickering and bantering, violence and stupidity, disrespect and rage. Kindness seems to be boring for far too many. And this is well evident by everything that you see on these TikTok videos. I see why the U.S. is trying to get rid of that, but I know it ain't for that reason. It's got a lot to do with money. But as I leave you on this note, I would just say thank you for tuning in to A Touch of Grace and listening to the phenomenal lives of the people that I have on here. If you yourself want to be a guest, you could reach out to me on social media. I've kind of opened up the door there. Or you could send me an email at authorgdgrace@gmail.com. Give me some specifics about yourself, and I'll be happy to have you as a guest. But in the meantime, you guys stay prayed up. There's a lot going on in the world. Please, please, please be critical thinkers. You know, don't just take something at face value. Hell, we got Google. Google stuff. Don't just look at somebody talking. You know, do your research, you know. But most of all, love yourself, all right? Carpe diem equals live your life. This is Glenn D. Grace signing out.
The following is a high five moment from highfivecasino.com.
I won! Yahoo! Private, put down your phone. This is the Army.
Sarge, High Five Casino is a social casino. It's on your phone. Goes wherever you go. I win free spins, cash, prizes, free daily rewards, over 1,200 games. I won again.
Platoon, present cell phone. High Five.
High Five.
Casino.
Casino.
Win at highfivecasino.com.
High Five Casino is a social casino. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Play responsibly. Conditions apply. See website for details.
High Five Casino.
It's important to properly dispose of unwanted medication or sharps. MedProject offers free and convenient disposal options near you. To learn more, call 844-MEDPROJECT or visit medproject.org.